Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about affirmations and why they are so important, how they work, why they work. I'm also going to talk about how you've been using them already and you probably don't even know, and how we use them sometimes to reinforce lies in our life. So I'm going to talk about what the big lies are that you've been telling yourself and how to overcome those lies. That's going to be part of what we talk about. I'm also going to talk about goal setting and how you can use affirmations in your goal setting process to actually do some really cool stuff so that your goals will actually get achieved. And I'm going to talk about SMART goals and how to keep your SMART goals from becoming stupid goals because you don't actually know how to achieve them. So we're going to show you how to do all of that and more in today's video. You're going to want to stay tuned for all that. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell as we're getting started as well to CIBN TV on YouTube. All right, guys, let's get going. All right, so what are these affirmations? What is that all about? I mean, I've heard, and I know many of you have heard things like, well, affirmations don't really work. That's a bunch of woo-woo. It's not really real. Okay, heads up. It's definitely very real. Affirmations is something that I have used to change my life in a really huge and awesome way. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about how I used it myself on a very small scale in the beginning and then started to increase that over these last few years and what a huge difference it has made. Okay, so let's go way back to 2010 when I was not doing so well financially. Okay, was really sucking bad actually. At that time, I was a single mom, 3 little kids, and I did my income taxes and discovered I had made a whopping $16,000 that year. If you can imagine, raising 3 kids in their preteen years and teenage years on $16,000. Well, one thing I realized at that point was I clearly did not know anything about how to make money. So I started to learn from other people and get mentors in my life. And through that process, I learned some things about affirmations. First of all, I had to discover, though, why I was making no money. And this is the thing. When we have been affirming certain things in our head already, and we've got this 6 inches that we're trying to navigate through and learn more and go faster, okay? This 6 inches often holds us back, and this is one of the way it happens. We have these neurological pathways in our head. They're kind of like ruts, okay? In fact, if you can imagine that your house is sitting up on a hill and the water and it rains hits the roof and then it runs down through the drain pipe and it starts going down through through your yard, and it starts following the same path of least resistance over and over again. What happens there? A rut starts to develop. The water starts whooshing right down through that rut. And the more that we let the water run through that same area, the bigger and the deeper the rut becomes. It kind of becomes like a Grand Canyon in your yard, all right? Well, our neurological pathways and the way we think about things, and then the habits that we perform after we have those pathways, this is all linked together because our thoughts like to go down this path of least resistance. So we will tell ourselves things like, I can't do it. I don't know how. I'm no good with numbers. Losing weight is so hard. I hate exercise. I just don't have the time for it. These are the things that we say over and over in our life. And are they true? No, they're not necessarily true at all. They're just what we told ourselves over and over again. We told ourselves so many times, they became the neurological pathway. They became the rut. They became the story of the least resistance. And as we told ourselves the story, then what happened? We continued to reinforce it with more of those stories in our head. And it just became what we affirmed over and over again. And we started to tell ourselves lies. Okay? So what are these lies? What do they look like? All of these kinds of things and more. In fact, I'm just going to share my screen here for you in a second here. And I want to actually show you this here. Okay, Henry Ford. He said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. Isn't that interesting? And this is the thing. We all get this idea in our head, I can do that. And then we can. Or we get this idea in our head, oh no, I'm no good at that. I'm no good with numbers. I can't do that. I'm no good talking in front of a group of people. No, I've never been good talking in front of people. I've never been good at sales. These are lies that we have told ourselves over and over and over again, and then we've reinforced them and made them true in our lives. But are they really true? Especially when you use words like, I never have been any good at sales, or I'm always really bad at whatever. Are you always really bad at that and you've never been any good at sales? I'd really question that. Because, for example, if you're a mom and you have children and you convince them to brush their teeth before bed every night, then guess what? You actually have been good at sales some of the time. You just didn't count that. So, that wasn't really sales. Yes, it was. As soon as you try to convince anybody of anything, that's a sales job, okay? So the reality is you have been good at it sometimes, but you just convince yourself that you are never any good at it. And so you've been lying to yourself about never being any good at sales, which isn't beneficial for you. So today I'm going to show you how to actually turn that all around, and I am going to show you how to use it with using your SMART goals, which are specific and measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. We're going to go over that in a minute. And I'm also going to show you just how you can use all these affirmations in a way that's really, really going to work for you. And it's going to be super, super awesome. You're going to be able to apply it to every goal that you create in your life from this point on. So you're going to love this. Okay. So you're going to want to hang on tight for the rest of this. All right, let's go on. So here's what we're going to do. You probably know what some of these big lies are that you've already been telling yourself, right? I'm no good at this. I've never been good at this. All right. Problem with these affirmations that we've been telling ourselves, and some of them kind of negative, the rut is already created. In some cases, it's like the Grand Canyon. And unfortunately, you can't just go get an eraser and go and just get rid of it. Okay. That'd be awesome. Nope. Our brains don't work like that. You can't just fix it right there. However, you can write a new program, and it means that there'll be another rut running down the yard. And if you continue to force water down it, it will eventually become bigger than the rut that was already there. That's good news. Okay, that's one good piece of good news, but there's another piece that's kind of bad news. And that means it's all about this. It takes work. Okay, so it can be done, but it takes work. And not everybody likes to work. Some people just like things to come easily. Okay. I also like things to come easily. And that is why I started to do the work on my affirmations. And in fact, it was a statement very similar to that completely and radically changed my life. So I'm going to show you how I used an affirmation many years ago and how I used it over and over and over again. And it completely changed everything. So I mentioned earlier that in 2010, I made only $16,000. And I started to figure out that I had to change this 6 inches, okay? That between my ears was the biggest distance I was ever going to have to travel. And I was going to have to fix what's going on in here. I got to rewrite those programs and change the neurological programming. So I identified a problem. I knew that I kept thinking that only people who deserved it had money. I was thinking that you had to work hard to get money and you must be deserving of it to get money. Now, you see how that was a lie that I was telling myself? I needed to actually come up with a new story that I was telling myself. But for years, this is what I had believed. My dad said things like, money doesn't grow on trees, Kerry. Okay, right? And my grandmother said things like, you only get money through working hard. You need to learn to work hard. All right, so these are some of the things that I heard, and I believed that. But are those things really true? In 2010, I started to examine that, and I realized that there are lots of people who work really hard who don't have any money. So clearly that is not the only answer about getting money. I also knew people who were incredibly wealthy that didn't seem to deserve it, and they didn't seem to work hard. That didn't line up with what I thought, right? Something's missing there. So then I started to realize that that was a lie, and I was believing a lie, and I was forcing water down that pathway in my head, continually making that even more true in my life, so that if money did come to me easily, I would even reject it. I would sabotage it. I would do things or say things to make that process stop because I wasn't comfortable. I didn't work hard for it, and I must not be deserving. But once I had this realization, I knew that money came to some people easily. So why shouldn't it come to me easily? Why did it seem like I worked and worked and worked twice as hard as the next person and never got ahead? Well, it was a lot of how I was thinking. So I decided I wanted to change that, and I was going to use an affirmation to do it. Back in those days, I really was not that, skilled in the area of affirmations. So I didn't write out a lot of them. I just wrote out one. I wrote out these words: money comes to me easily. That's all. Then I took those words, money comes to me easily, and I wrote them down everywhere I could think of that I was going to see this over and over and over again, because I had to change the pathway into my mind. Because in my mind, I was always thinking about how money came so hard, right? And it wasn't going to be easy for me. So I had to reinforce this. So this is what I did. First of all, I got out my handy dandy lipstick and I wrote across my mirror. Actually, in the beginning, I wrote at the top of my mirror. I said, money comes to me easily, on the mirror where I put on my makeup every day. After a couple of weeks, I realized I was ignoring it up there. So I erased it and I wrote it right across where I put on my makeup. So that right across my face, it said, money comes to you easily. Money comes to me easily. I wrote the present tense. I wrote it as I'm saying it right now, that this is something that is happening right now. That's very important as you're writing an affirmation, that it is all about the now. It's not, it's going to come to me later, or money will come to me. That's not the affirmation. The affirmation is money comes to me easily. Money comes now. Money is coming. Money comes every day. These are real affirmations, okay? So I wrote it out that way. Money comes to me easily. And I wrote it also on slips of paper, and I put it everywhere I could think of that I was going to see this over and over and over again in my day. So where would that be? Well, first of all, I went to the bathroom a lot. Like most people, you go to the washroom 8 to 10 times a day. So I went into the washroom and I taped it on a piece of paper on the inside of my lid of my toilet. So when I lifted up, it said, money comes to me easily. Yahoo! Also, when you go to the washroom, you tend to sit on the toilet and face the wall. So I wrote it on a paper and taped it to the wall so that every time I was in the washroom, I would read this while I'm in the washroom. I also took it on slips of paper and I put it in my car, put it on the steering wheel, taped it to the steering wheel. So every time I was driving somewhere, which for me in those days, I drove about 2 hours a day, I kept that in front of me every time I was driving. I also taped it underneath the rearview mirror. Money comes to me easily every time. What did this do? It changed my life. Can I tell you something? I made $16,000 in 2010. That's what my income taxes said. I made $32,000 the following year. I doubled. I made $68,000 the following year. I made $168,000, I think. Anyways, then I went to $368,000. There's a lot of 68s in there. Anyways, it doubled every year for 4 years. That's how it went. Bang, 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 bang. And then when I got into that year of 300 and some thousand, of course, I was putting it all through a business at that point, not through myself individually, because that's how you keep more. But that's for another video, another day. Anyways, the affirmation that I was using, money comes to me easily, was incredibly powerful. It changed the way I thought. It created new opportunities for me. And it got me out of the rut of thinking that I only would get money if I worked really, really hard and if I was deserving of it. Because those were lies that I was telling myself. And I had to learn to tell myself better lies. What? Yeah, tell yourself better lies. You lie to yourself anyway. So dream up better lies. So let me show you another way I use this, because this works with health and wellness. It works with money. It works with wisdom. It works with learning. If you say, oh, I have a hard time reading books and I don't like to read books, well, that's the path. That's the affirmation that you have created for yourself. And if you want to change it, remember what Henry Ford said: if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. Both people are just as right in that. Okay. So if you think I have a hard time reading and I don't like reading, but you start to tell yourself, I like to read, I love to read. I really enjoy reading. And you keep saying that over and over again, you're going to find yourself reading. Now, if it was a situation where you really, really, really hated something, even that can be rewritten. And I know that from personal experience, because in the last few years, I've been doing a lot of this. And there were some habits I had in my life that were easily changed because I was ready to embrace the change. But there was other habits in my life that were not so easy to just change. And that's because I really had a particular dislike or a love of something that was really ingrained. Okay. So I'm going to give you one example. I did not like to exercise. I actually would say, I hate exercising. I used to say it all the time. I used to say it with like passion. Okay. I hate exercise. Oh, exercise is awful. No, thank you. I was really into my dislike of exercise. So my coach, Riel Kelly, said to me, you should actually create an affirmation that says that you love to exercise. And I was like, what? That's crazy. It's not true. It's a lie. That just goes against my nature. I don't think it's integrity to say things like this to myself. Then he pointed out that I had been lying to myself anyway, because do I always hate exercise? Always? That's a pretty big word. Always. No, not always. If I was on a trip somewhere and I was going to a museum, I would love to walk around, right? So it wasn't true. But I was convinced that it was true because I kept saying it to myself all the time. So he just showed me that if I said it over and over again, that I love to exercise, it might change the way I feel about it. So I started to apply it. Well, it felt weird. It felt wrong at first. It felt like it was really unnatural to say that I love to exercise. In fact, I had several affirmations that I would say every day. And when I got to that point, I would say, I love to exercise. And I would go, ha! I go, yeah, right. In my mind, that's what would follow. I really, really didn't like to exercise. So this was coming through, right? That was the path. That was the neurological path. But the affirmation was, I love to exercise. I actually expanded the affirmation to say, I love to exercise. I love to go for a walk. I really enjoy myself when I'm going for long walks. Things like this. That's what I would say. I started to create these affirmations. And at first, it was slow going because this was not an area that I wanted to really embrace immediately. But about 3 months into it, one day I woke up and said to my beloved, hey, we should go for a walk. And he looked at me like, what happened to you? Who are you? What did you do with Kerry? Because it was unnatural for me to do that. But I had said it again and again and again, and I was creating a new pathway. And now I truly do love to go for walks. I truly do enjoy that kind of exercise. So now it's not so weird anymore. And of course, it has had some positive effects on my body and my health, which is awesome, right? So it's what we tell ourselves that is incredibly important. And this is how affirmations work. Okay, we need to write them in a way that is now, that is happening right now. You don't say in an affirmation that I will like to exercise, because that's like later. Okay, you don't say I will make more money, because again, that's later. And that's giving your mind that rut that you can get away with not doing this right now, because we can procrastinate because you will do it later. No. An affirmation has to be right now. It should be positive, and it has to be reinforced repetitively, at least 6 times a day. I'm going to get into more of that in a minute, but first of all, I do want to talk about how you use this in the goal setting process, because this is powerful. Okay, so earlier I mentioned the SMART goal process. Okay, so I know a lot of people have used SMART goals before, and I am going to show you how to use your affirmations with the SMART goal process. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring back up that picture that I had here a second ago, which is right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. These are how you make a SMART goal. Okay, very important that you create it this way, or else it's not a SMART goal. It's not going to happen. It'll be more like a stupid goal. Okay. Because a SMART goal has to be specific. You got to know exactly what it is that you are making the goal about. It should be measurable, achievable, relevant, time-based. Okay. So let's use a financial goal. And then I'm going to actually show you how to build an affirmation or a variety of affirmations that would affirm your SMART goal for you. Okay. So let's say my goal was to double my income. I like a financial goal as an example because you can be very specific with it. You can look in your bank account and actually decide how much your SMART, like how specific that number is. You can actually say, well, last month I made whatever it was. If you are currently employed, that was probably, say, $5,000. I made $5,000. But it doesn't matter what the number is. It could be 1,000 or 500. It could be 10,000 or 20,000. It could be the number for your company. So it could be 50,000 or 100,000. It doesn't matter what it is, but it must be specific. So for this example, I'm going to use the number $5,000. Let's say I made $5,000 last month. And so that's very specific. My goal is to double. So that simply means 10, right? Nice and simple. Is it measurable? Absolutely. 5 to 10, measurable. Is it achievable? Well, that's an interesting question. Is it? If I was currently working for somebody else and I made $5,000 a month, I don't think there is a raise anywhere on the planet that would give me 10. So if that's what I'm thinking it's going to bring it, probably not going to happen that way. However, if I start to change my neurological processes, it's possible that I might start to think about other ways of creating income. If I start to reaffirm that with money comes to me easily and extra ways of making money comes to me, I have all kinds of good ideas. I buy and sell things, that kind of stuff. Maybe that's possible. Or maybe I would look at having a side hustle that I start to work on evenings and weekends. That might be possible. It might be that I would have to change the measurement of my goal to be not just a double in 1 month, but maybe double over 6 months or a year. That could make it achievable. So you got to think about that. Is it relevant? If my goal is to increase the money that's coming into my household, these are very relevant goals. And are they time-based? Okay, time-based is incredibly important because you got to put a deadline on that, because if you don't, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to start moving toward it. So let's say I say $5,000 is what I make. I want to make $10,000. I'm going to give myself 6 months to get it done. So now I've got it time-based. It meets all the requirements of a SMART goal. But I don't want to be stupid about this, right? I want to be smart. So that's the first part. I also want to actually spend some time affirming this particular goal that I have. And my affirmations need to be now, they need to be relevant, and they need to actually firm up around that. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say I've decided I'm going to double my income in 6 months, and I currently make $5,000 a month. So one of my first affirmations is use the number. Say, I make $10,000 a month. That's one of the affirmations I'm going to start to say. I make $10,000 a month, every month, month after month. Well, that's not too bad. Easy start. Okay. Now I might start to think about how could I possibly make the 10,000? Well, in my job, maybe I am not able to increase that much, but maybe I could make more money in my job. So maybe I say raises come to me easily. Opportunities come to me easily. I am very profitable in my side hustle. That could be a great affirmation if that was my goal, to double from 5 to 10,000. Maybe I could start making affirmations about how I make investments that work out every time. Money comes to me easily. People give me money unexpectedly. Just happens, right? Things like that. Those are affirmations. We might think about other ways of making money that are natural to me. Like for example, I'm a writer, so I could say I write books, people buy my books, right? Maybe you do something else. Maybe you're a carpenter on the side, right? That could be very beneficial. You might say, well, I build kitchen cabinets and I get 4 clients in a month instead of 2 that I'm currently beginning. See, These are things that you can actually affirm. You can say that. You can look at what are the numbers, how many things did I do this month to make that happen? And then you start talking about and affirming how you're doubling that activity. By the way, if you're in sales, this is incredibly easy because you can say, well, last month I made $5,000 in my sales job or in my business. And I had 20 appointments to accomplish that. So how would you double? Nice and easy now. You know the number. This month, I have 40 appointments. Okay? People love to make appointments with me. That's a great affirmation. I find people everywhere that want to buy my product. That is a great affirmation, right? So if you're in sales, actually, all you have to do is look at the numbers that you had, and you can double the amount of phone calls you make, the amount of first contacts that you make. You can double the amount of appointments that you have, and therefore you should double the amount of money that's coming in. And as you make those goals, you want to create the affirmations that support those goals. Now, let's talk about how often do you say affirmations? Because I know I've met people and they say, well, I tried that once and it didn't work. Of course it didn't work. Why would it work if you tried it once? Some people just really blow me away. Okay. Yeah. Affirmations work because you're creating a new pathway and you're forcing that line of thought like water through that pathway. So that means you got to do it more than once. Okay. The Grand Canyon didn't happen in instantly. Okay. All right. So how you want to do it is you want to continuously say these things. So what I'm going to recommend to you is that you write out your affirmations, and you don't have to be cheap and tinsy with it and have just one line like I did way back then in 2010. Actually, you can write out like a paragraph or 2 paragraphs and it still works just the same, but you have to say it over and over again. I recommend at least 6 times a day. Why? Because you're building the pathway, okay? Now, I know some people are going, oh my God, really 6 times a day? That's a lot. I'll never get that done. Yes, you will. You just have to plan it. So this is how I do it. I actually write out my affirmations. I make them according to my goals. And I do this every 90 days. In fact, at CIBN, we have quarter launch where we all do it together every 90 days. So I write this out. I do it once every 90 days. And then this is what I do. Every morning when I wake up and my alarm goes off, I have them here on my smartphone. So my alarm goes off, I lean over, I pick it up, and written under the alarm are my affirmations. I read them out to myself out loud because my ears need to hear it, okay? Out loud. I say those affirmations, all in the present tense, right now. Things like, I love myself unconditionally. Money comes to me easily. I love to exercise. And more. Okay, so I write that all out and I say it twice before I let myself get out of bed. Man, if you got to go to the bathroom first thing in the morning, you have some motivation to get it done. All right, so that's the first thing. Then you set your timer for a time later in the day when customarily you would have time to say this. Or another quick and easy way of doing it, just put it on a piece of paper and tape it to the wall right where you go to the washroom, where you got to sit down and look at it and read it. Everybody goes to the washroom like 8 to 10 times a day. So why wouldn't you just stick it up there? And every time you go to the washroom, there's your 6 times plus every time just because you went to the bathroom that day. That'll work, right? Another thing I do is, because they're on my phone, I say them as well 2 more times before I go to bed every night. Or I set off timers, the notifications that actually remind me to do it at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever. Okay, so that I say them over and over and over again. And I recreate these pathways in my brain that start to make me believe the new truths that I have created for myself. Okay, that's how you get this done. And when you couple that with the whole idea of doing SMART goals, this is incredibly powerful. This is how you can get a lot of stuff done for yourself individually, for yourself as a business owner. Doesn't matter if you're a professional or an entrepreneur or even in the workplace. These are the ways that you can get things done. You're creating new habits with this whole building of a new pathway. And as you create new habits, you have new results. And you could choose not to do this. You could just keep doing what you're already doing. How's that working for you? All right. So if you want to change the way things are, you got to change the way you think. Okay. And then by changing the way you think, you'll change what you do. And it is amazing. These are life-changing exercises. We've done this now every quarter in our company, and we now put on an event called Quarter Launch, where we do it every quarter with individuals, professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners. Every 3 months we do this. And of course, we've got one coming up on the calendar. You'll find it at thecibn.com on our event page, which is /events after thecibn.com. You can go there and you can actually sign up and take the course with us, which is called Quarter Launch. 5 hours of working on things like your affirmations, your SMART goals, and setting your goals actually for the next 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, and then 90 days. And moving forward every 90 days, because that's what big corporations do, right? You don't see big companies going, well, let's just wing it. Let's see where it goes. No, they don't do that, right? Many companies have goals set up for every quarter, and then they have projections set up for the next 10 years. And there are even companies that have like a 50-year or a 100-year game plan. So what's your game plan? How can we make that happen? You can leave a legacy for your kids or for whoever you want in your life. You can be thought about and remembered forever based on making goals. And affirmations, coupled with the goals, can make that happen so that you're leaving a legacy. So this is how you do it. Join us at Quarter Launch. If you love this video, we got more coming. We're going to be talking more about goals over the next few months. Would love to have you subscribe. Just actually subscribe and ring the bell so that you get more about this. It is at CIBN TV. If you're searching for us on YouTube, that's how you find us. Subscribe and ring the bell. And of course, visit us on our website at thecibn.com/events and sign up for the course. I'd love to have you. I'd love to get to know you personally. It is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to show you how to get things done because that's what we do. Happy capitalism. Hope this was helpful for you.